Last week, we'll start here. Last week, someone asked me the question. Last week we talked about love. Love is the most important thing, right? You can have faith to do all kinds of stuff. You can speak with the tongues of angels, and you can move mountains, and yada, yada, yada. But if you do not have love, what does the Scripture say? Do you remember? It's nothing. It's absolutely useless, makes no sense, it's pointless. Now, the person asked me a great question. The question was, what if I don't feel like loving? How do I do that? How do I do it if I don't feel like loving? If I don't feel love? And I said, well, that's a great question that Paul addressed in that scripture in 1 Corinthians 13. And what did he say in 1 Corinthians 13? He said, love is patient, love is kind, doesn't envy, is not boastful, is not arrogant, it's not rude, it's not self-seeking, it's not irritable, doesn't keep a record of wrong. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. So when we say love, love is like the junk drawer word. Because I love my wife and I love my dog. I love my house and I love my car. I love food and I love shoes. I actually do love shoes, but that's another thing. I love hiking. I love nature. I love trees. I love fish. Love is a junk drawer word. We say love for everything. Right? But I'm trusting you love your spouse differently than you do your pet. Just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. Here's one for you. I'm just hoping, right? You probably love your kids different than you love food. On some days we know it can be challenging too. But the reality is we love, so what is love? Paul tells us that love is patient. Love is kind. So can I act in love, without feeling it, and be honest and truthful? The answer is yes. Because you can be kind, and that's an act of love. It has nothing to do with how you feel. You can be patient, even when patience is drawn thin. Anybody ever have that patience drawer really stretched thin? So thin that you can see right through it. If you had small kids at some point in your life, you know what I'm talking about. Or teenagers, thank you very much. You can be kind. You can be patient. You don't have to envy. You can be you don't have to be boastful, not arrogant, not rude, not self-seeking. You can be all of those things and express what love is. And and when we're looking at the life of faith and hope and love, we're not looking at emotions. Although there's a wonderful emotion called love, we thank God for the emotion of love. I thank God that I love my wife with an emotion, not just the thought. Yes, I have to love her and be kind and be patient and she has to be the same for me. We must just do this. Right? And just kind of wind it up and let me go. No, it's great to have the emotion of love. But when the emotion of love is not there, I better have something else. I better be reminded. So like when we go to, I may not love the poor, right? You may be sitting there thinking, I have no connection. I don't understand. That's something out of my framework. I don't know what to do with that. But you can be kind. Right? You can not be boastful, not think of your position any better than theirs. Right? You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be rude or self-seeking. You can do those things that the Scripture says and be loving. Because he says love is this and is not these other things. And I love this. It believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. So when we're living a life of faith and hope, it's really that God calls us to a life of love. And so, as Bubba came and shared today, it's because of his love for us as a church. Would you agree? Of course he can stay silent. But why? Because if you love someone, you're going to tell them. Right? I hope so. See, in Estonia, you kind of do it this way. Estonia and Finland are kind of the same, kind of culturally the same thing. And they basically say, I tell you when I love you when I married you. If it changes, I'll let you know. It's true. You may have that the word love may not be in your vocabulary at all, but I enjoy saying I love you. I do. When we talk, we can talk several times in a day, and we tell each other we love each other at the end of every conversation because it's true. I love her, and I want her to know that I love her. And so this exercise of faith, this life of faith and hope and love needs to be grounded in this reality that God is love. Right? You can do all things and believe all things, hope all things, and don't have love, and you don't have a whole lot. Like I said, I don't know that we're going to get into Mark chapter 5 today, but I'll just share this as a scripture. It says, now faith is the reality, it's in Hebrews 11:1, is the reality of what is hoped for, the proof of what is not seen. See, faith is being fully persuaded, completely convinced that what you're hoping for is your reality before you ever see it. Now, I like Star Trek, so I'm just going to geek out on just a moment. Any Star Trek fans? Anybody? Someone's going to help me? Okay, good. So Star Trek. You remember Next Generations, right? Jean-Luc Picard would walk over to this wall, and it was just basically a hole in the wall, and he would say his classic Earl Grey, hot. Being convinced completely that this machine that heard his voice was not just going to make hot tea, Earl Grey hot tea, but was going to produce a cup to hold that tea too. So when he stuck his hand in it, he pulled it out. It was a cup with hot Earl Grey tea in it. Now, what does it have to do with faith? Faith, Jean-Luc Picard did not have to wonder if the thing was going to produce the thing he asked for. He knew it. As soon as he said it, it was going to happen. Now, he had to still wait for the thing to materialize. But what is faith? Faith is being completely convinced. It is your reality. It is not a possibility. It is reality. That what you're believing God for actually comes to pass before you ever see it. That's what faith is. Faith is the substance of the things that we're hoping for. It's the evidence of what, it is actual evidence of what we do not see. For those of you who are lawyers, there's at least one in the room. How do you have evidence that you cannot see? That would be circumstantial. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I'm not really sure. But no, he's saying, Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things that you hope for. It is the evidence, the reality, the material of what you do not yet see. And if we had the chance to go through Mark 5, the story of the woman with the issue of blood, she'd been 12 years, spent everything she had, didn't get better, only got worse. What did she say? If I can only get to Jesus. If I could only get to Jesus, I'll be well. What was she doing? She had a hope. If I can get to the one I've heard who does miracles, I'm going to be well. If I can just get close to Jesus, what is faith? Faith is the substance of things that we are hoping for. It is the evidence of the thing we do not yet see. It's not in our eyesight. It has not yet materialized to become something tangible, material, but it is as real as if it was this podium on stage. I did not have to wonder if this stage would hold my weight, although at one point I did and it fell. You remember that one. I'm working on it. But I was fully confident by looking at this, if I stood on it, it's going to handle. Within reason, I'm guessing. Faith is the substance. Faith is what we act on, whether we see it or not. Because it's reality. It's more real than what we see. The scripture actually tells us in a different place that the things that you see are temporary, but the things you don't see, they are eternal. The things that you see, another translation says, are subject to change. Life is subject to change. Anybody ever experienced change? Unexpected change? Anybody unexpected change? Life is going this way, all of a sudden it goes that way. The things that you're dealing with in life, it looks pretty clear. I can pretty much understand it. All of a sudden, something pops up. Where'd that come from? And it totally shifts everything away. Why? Because everything we see is temporary. Everything we see is subject to change. But that which is unseen, another part of the Bible, created that which is seen. So when we act in faith, it's motivated by love, it's wrapped in love. So in other words, again, you can't believe God for wonderful, great, exciting things and do great miracles and don't have love. It's nothing, pointless, useless. But when the things that you're doing are wrapped in love, love of God, love of people, love of His mission, love of the gospel, all of a sudden you can begin to act in faith like this woman who for 12 years spent everything she had on doctors, didn't get better, only got worse. I mean, imagine our healthcare system today. If you have health insurance, imagine you run out of all of your health insurance and they hit you with that bill. Right? That emergency thing that you went into, how much does a shot cost? How much is an x-ray? How much is a surgery? How much does it cost to just have a kid? We're talking multiplied thousands and thousands of dollars. And what if you didn't have insurance? That's a reality for many people. Didn't get better, only got worse. But if I can just get to Jesus, she had a picture in her mind. If I can get to the one that I heard, I wonder what she would have heard about Jesus. There's a book, it's called Christ the Healer. The writer's name is F.F. Bosworth. He says that faith begins where the will of God is known. Faith begins where the will of God is known. Faith begins where the will of God is known. Now what's the point that I'm trying to make here? Is what did this woman hear about Jesus? Where did her faith begin? She must have heard about something that Jesus did. She must have heard that He healed people. She must have heard, if I can just get near Him like other people, I will be better. Now, if you've ever been sick for any period of time, you know when you're better. It's not like you didn't know. Imagine, I can't imagine this, but having a condition where you're bleeding, an issue of blood, whatever that is, for 12 years. I'm guessing you'd know when that stopped. I'm just saying. She's, if I can get to Jesus, she probably heard things like, there was a time when He was walking and there was this boy who was dead and the mother was in crazy grief and He just walked over and said, "Son, get up." And he got up. I wonder if she heard, there was a guy who was born blind. And he just did something, spit on something, and he got better. I wonder what she would have heard. But what we do know is she had heard something, or she knew something, because she said, if I can get, not to the rabbi down the road, not to the elders of the community. What did she say? If I can get to Jesus, I know I'm going to be better. A woman who would have been an outcast of society, considered unclean, if they would have seen her, they would have had the right to have stoned her or cast her out of the city. If they would have seen her in that condition, the community and the culture at large would have kicked this woman to the curb quickly. So despite all of that, she says, if I can get to Jesus. But then she did something about it. What did she do? She pressed through the crowd. There was a song years ago I had heard this guy. I don't know if you ever heard of Rodney Howard-Browne. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him. There was a song, like the woman with the issue of blood. She pressed in. Like the blind man who waited patiently. He pressed in through the crowd. And suddenly, a touch from heaven. Jesus came and set them free. See, if I can get to Jesus, faith is Faith is not sitting at home saying, I wish I could get to Jesus. And just, he's out there somewhere, but if I can just get to him, that's hope. That's if I can get to Jesus. Right? But what is faith? Faith says, let me get out of my house. Let me get myself ready. I'm going to go meet with Jesus. And when the crowd is there, and everything in your head is saying, this makes no sense, what I'm about to do, I'm taking literally my life into my own hands. What does faith say? Faith says, I had my hope if I can get to Jesus. Faith says, now move. Move in the direction that you think you need to go. See, I don't know what everyone's step of faith is. I don't know, and I'm not going to claim to know what you need to do to move from whatever it is that you're going through to the next thing. I know there's things in my life that God is constantly challenging me on, that I have a hope, but I have to do something. I have to move in the direction of Jesus. I have to get close to him, because if I can only get to Jesus, he'll meet it. As Bubba said earlier, the issue is not, can I produce a miracle? Right? If you wait for Miguel to produce miracles, we wait a long time. If I can get to Jesus, if we can find him in the middle of the crazy, man, all things become possible to those who believe. Do you believe that? I believe that. And man, I wish we had 5 hours. We don't, I know. Jesus, in the middle of a journey with people pressing all on him, what does he say? Who touched me? Do you ever hear that song? He touched me. Oh, he touched me. And oh, the joy that floods my soul. Something happened, and now I know. He touched me, and he made me whole. Oh, my God, people. I might just go old-time Pentecostal on everybody in just a minute. I mean, if we can get to Jesus, everything becomes possible. Everything becomes possible. It's just the truth. It's crazy, but it's true. And I just want to encourage us as we live a life of faith, we live a life of hope and expectancy, that we live this life of love that God has for his creation, his world, the people around us. Oh, that we see things, miracles. I want to see God do things. I really do. I want to see him. I want to see the greatest gift of all, people come to faith in him. I want to see that. I don't want to just hear about it. I get tickled pink, if that were possible. I don't know where that phrase came from, but tickled pink when I hear about people in churches that are growing because people come into faith in Jesus. I love it. I get excited. I hear about our vineyard churches in different parts of the United States just growing. Why? Because I know if he's doing it for some, he can do it for us. I want to see miracles. I want to see people come to faith in Jesus. I want to see that such a natural occurrence that we just have this stage cluttered with baptism things because you're just going to dunk people and send them out the door. Like, go ahead. Yeah, we're done. Another one? None. Another one? Just because it's natural for us to see people come to faith in Jesus. So you do what you do. Baptize them, send them out into the world again. Come on. That's what I want.